Hey everybody, Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, back here with my buddy Mike Smith. Mike, good to see you again, man.
You too, you too.
Absolutely. Now you guys might remember Mike, of course. He brought his brand new 2015 in with us, did his first round of mods, which included that air raid cold air intake, Flowmaster exhaust, and of course the Bama V2 tune. And how you liking these things so far?
Absolutely loving it. Just everything that they did to smooth out that low RPM shifting and everything going into it, the power, the sound, everything that is brought for the Mustang itself has been amazing.
Can't beat it with over 400 wheel horsepower too. You got to be happy.
Very.
All right, well, just like many other Mustang owners, including myself, Mike has been bit hard by the mod bug, and that's why he's back with us here today. It's only been a couple of weeks, but you're already back with some new plans. What do they entail?
Well, I was reaching out trying to look for some things just to kind of get a little bit more of a performance stance to it, get it down a little bit, make it a little bit tougher. Looking for new wheels.
Well, I think we have something in mind for you, Mike, and of course we work together on a few parts, and we'll show you guys what we're working on. But for now, Mike, get out of here. We got to get to work, brother.
All right.
All right, guys, so the first part of Mike's suspension and handling build, as you can see, we're working on a set of sway bars. Now, he decided to go with the Whiteline front and rear sway bar kit for the 2015 GT, which should be a nice improvement even over the beefy Performance Pack sway bars. Whiteline's looking at a 35mm front bar and a 24mm rear bar, as opposed to a 32 and 22 factory bar, which should give the car a lot more grip in turns, make it feel a little flatter as well in turns, to basically make it handle a lot better on the street for Mike. Now, full disclosure, guys, it's a little tricky getting the front bar off, mainly because there's a few bolts you have to get from the engine bay, but the rear should be a lot easier, and of course we are going to tackle that rear bar in a minute. Did want to mention real quick though, Whiteline does include these nice beefy adjustable end links, which is a very nice little touch. And of course the bars themselves are three-way adjustable, so it allows you to dial in your optimal settings, optimal preload, things like that. So we are going to talk a little bit more about some of the suspension mods that Mike has chosen for his ride here today, but first we're going to finish up getting this front bar installed. All right, guys, so what's a suspension build without an aftermarket set of springs, right? That leads us to our next part here in Mike's build, these Buckland lowering springs, which are gonna lower the car an inch on all four corners. Now, Vogtland is actually a well-known brand in other automotive fields. They've been around for over 100 years, but they're relatively new to the Mustang game. So I'm really excited to see how they're gonna work out on Mike's ride, as is he. Now again, the 1-inch drop should be just right for this car, get rid of some of that ugly wheel gap, of course, but the car shouldn't be slammed to the ground. And even more importantly here, we are going to reuse his factory dampers, because as of now, no aftermarket company has released a set of aftermarket dampers for these cars. So basically the factory stuff should be able to handle it just fine, the mild drop and relatively low mileage stuff. So we're going to get these fronts installed here, move on to the back, and we have a few more things to talk about there. All right, guys, with that last bolt, we're pretty much wrapped in the rear. We got the Whiteline rear bar installed along with the rear springs, and we're pretty much good to go underneath the car. Now, obviously the 2015s do have the independent rear suspension, which makes spring install a little different back here. Before with the solid rear axle, you just basically drop the thing down, pop both springs at once, and you're good to go. With this, it's a little bit more labor intensive. You have to lower the subframe on each side, pull the springs out, put them back in. Not the end of the world, it just takes a little bit longer. So with that, we're all done back here. We're gonna get the car down on the ground and show you guys the last part of Mike's build. Well guys, as you can see, the third and final part for Mike's build today here, brand new set of MMD Zevin wheels, 19-inch diameter in bright silver. Now he didn't want to do the traditional black on black or even charcoal on black. Instead, he wanted to do the bright silver. He thought it would pop on his car, and I would totally agree with him. Now we want to get him in here, of course, see what he thinks of this thing. I think it looks killer, of course, but we also want to go for a ride and see what he thinks of these new handling parts and to see if they've improved on his handling performance. Well, Mike, moment of truth, man. Springs, sway bars, and of course those MMD Zevin wheels are in place. What do you think?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I tell you, instantly, just you look at it, the wheels are popping at it. The stance of the car now with the springs on it just lowered a little bit, filled in all that gap.
Absolutely.
It looks amazing.
Well, there you go. Very nice. Well, I'm glad you're stoked with it. Of course, there's more than just looking at this thing though, right? We got the springs, we got the sway bars. We want to see if this thing's handling better. So what do you say we hop in and go for a spin?
We're ready.
All right, Mike, so we're out in the car. We got the springs installed, we got the sway bars, of course, those wheels and tires, and I have to ask first impressions of your ride.
It's been awesome. Just the grip, just the handling of everything from the corners to the bumps and everything else we've been going through. It just grips like at a whole nother level right now.
Absolutely, and we're in the Northeast. I mean, the roads this time of year are brutal to say the least.
You're gonna get a good test right now out of these springs and the sway bar and how it's handled in the corners in this area.
Oh man,
you feel
thing,
that
yeah.
grip?
Thing just, it's
Finally,
no spin
that's
at all.
That's all I've ever wanted from this damn thing, and I couldn't get it.
Well, there, it's amazing the difference an all-season makes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, Mike, we got a hard right-hander coming up here. Let's see how these sway bars are working for you.
All right.
We got another left-hander coming up here. Repping off a downshift. Let's see how she feels. It's a hard one, too.
We're going in.
Yes, sir. Oh, man. But overall, the success, you think,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. What a performance handle, and just everything that it has done to wrap it all together with the sway bars from the corner into the springs. Your number one driver is the performance piece of it, but also you got to look at, you want it to look good.
Oh, and you got the looks.
And this thing right here is just, it just sits mean right now.
You do. You got that aggressive stance. You got the rubber.
Right.
You got the wheels. Overall, success.
Absolutely.
There it is, guys. Well,
I'll be back.
Mike, he can't stop, man. He's been bitten hard by that mod bug. So he might be back in a few weeks, maybe for that blower we're talking about.
You never know.
Well, there you go, guys. You have to follow this build. Mike's having a blast, as are we. So be sure to stay tuned right here at AmericanMuscle.com.